Kathleen Martinez is descending into a 2,000-year-old shaft. She believes it could lead her to the lost tomb of Queen Cleopatra.
Okay, look. Oh God, so creepy, look. At the end of the tunnel there is a door, but it's almost completely covered with water.
Centuries ago, one of the most popular monarchs in the world, Queen Cleopatra VII Philopator, died in the most dramatic way possible, and her body was buried secretly by her most trusted servants. To learn more about her death, archaeologists and researchers have continued to search endlessly for her resting place. That search appears to have reached a climax as the grave has been discovered in the most sacred place in Egyptian land. What specific secrets has Cleopatra's tomb yielded? Are there sordid details of Cleopatra's famed amoral lifestyle hidden within? Or have we cracked the code to the mysteries of an ancient civilization? Let's take a deep dive together. The first notable breakthrough in discovering Cleopatra's tomb came about in 1998. During the search, archaeologists led by the renowned Frank Goddio discovered something remarkable: the palace of Queen Cleopatra in Alexandria. Within that famed palace, this team of researchers discovered many artifacts, treasures, statues, and marble floors that hadn't been seen for over 200 years. These remarkable discoveries offered the world a glimpse into the lifestyle of endless wealth enjoyed by the queen and all who existed within the Ptolemaic dynasty and beyond. This groundbreaking discovery acted as a motivator, and like bloodhounds with a taste of blood in their mouth, archaeologists doubled their efforts to discover the hidden tomb site. Now, over 20 years after the discovery of the hidden palace, the tomb of Queen Cleopatra has been unraveled. You can feel the excitement as the grave has given up its secrets, revealing so much hidden for eons. In the suspected enclave of the tomb and around it, so much has been unearthed, and the world is excited at these revelations. The quest to discover the tomb of Cleopatra has led archaeologists to one logical place: the Taposiris Magna, a city established by Cleopatra's predecessor, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, around 280 and 270 BC. Taposiris Magna translates to Great Tomb of Osiris, an apt name considering what has been discovered therein. Using a combination of traditional and modern methods of excavation and research, archaeologists have pinpointed the Taposiris Magna Temple as the final resting place of the much-maligned queen. What have they found within and around the temple to suggest it as the long-lost tomb of Cleopatra? What hidden secrets have been revealed with this discovery? To unearth the secrets of the tomb and its surroundings, I must take a moment to discuss the enigmatic queen. So, who is Queen Cleopatra? Who is Cleopatra? A history of the infamous queen. Cleopatra, also known as Cleopatra VII Philopator, was a seductress acutely aware of the effects she had on men. Desperate for power and influence, she used her seductive powers to entrap powerful men and gradually climb the ladder until she became one of the most powerful people of her time. How did Cleopatra begin? She was born into the noble family of Ptolemy IV Auletes in Egypt around 69 BC. She was Macedonian by heritage, as the Ptolemaic line is considered a Macedonian dynasty that came to power in Egypt after the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE. The first in the Ptolemaic line was Ptolemy Soter of Egypt, who had been Alexander's general. Cleopatra's lineage is regarded as one of the most powerful monarchical dynasties in the history of Egypt. Still, at the time of her birth, notable instability and a tussle for power characterized her early days and possibly built her desperate character. At the height of the internal struggles, following the death of Ptolemy XIV, Cleopatra was forced to marry her brother Ptolemy XIII to ensure the family did not lose the throne to their enemies. Still, while necessary, the union didn't yield the stability they had hoped for. Cleopatra was only 18 at the time, while her brother, Ptolemy XIII, was 10. Hence, the larger mantle of leadership fell on the older sister, who took it upon herself to win the heart of her people and to be the symbol of power they sorely needed. History recognizes Cleopatra as the only one in the Ptolemaic line to learn the Egyptian language. This, along with her mastery of Latin and Greek, amongst other languages, allowed her to connect with her people and their neighbors, including a great alliance developed with Rome during the reign of Julius Caesar. Cleopatra wasn't just interested in regional politics, she was a juggernaut who extended her reach for the benefit of her people. Cleopatra was getting more powerful, her status was increasing tremendously, and her fame was spreading all over Egypt, and this didn't sit well with her brother. Cleopatra's face was minted on Egyptian coins, her name was on official documents, but her brother seems to have been relegated to the background. When Ptolemy XIII and his regent, Pothinus, tried to get rid of her in 50 BCE, Cleopatra was forced to flee Egypt and seek alliances elsewhere. She found herself in Syria, where she raised an army and returned to challenge her brother at Pelusium in 48 BCE. While the siblings warred against each other, their sister Arsinoe IV began her quest to wrest power for herself. Each party in this war knew they needed the powers of the Roman emperor to get a stranglehold on the Egyptian throne, and soon Ptolemy XIII got his opportunity to impress Julius Caesar. Caesar had just defeated Pompey the Great in a civil war, and the defeated general fled to Egypt, seeking asylum. Ptolemy saw this as an opportunity and welcomed Pompey to Egypt, then murdered him in cold blood, hoping to impress Caesar with his rival's head. When Ptolemy presented Caesar with Pompey's head, Caesar was disgusted and ordered that Pompey's body be located immediately. A proper Roman funeral was accorded to him. Cleopatra seized the opportunity of her brother's failure and seduced Julius Caesar. Caesar's lover, the powerful Roman emperor, restored Cleopatra to the throne and beheaded Pothinus, the regent believed to be the instigator of the war between Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII. This move did not go down well with Ptolemy XIII, who allied himself with Arsinoe IV, and together they sought to wrest the throne from Cleopatra. The war that ensued occurred inside Alexandria and came to be known as the Siege of Alexandria. Following the Siege of Alexandria, there was the Battle of the Nile, where Cleopatra received reinforcements from her lover in Rome, and together they forced Ptolemy XIII to flee Egypt. He would drown while attempting to cross the Nile on the 13th of January, 47 BC. This marked the end of the civil war, and Cleopatra became the undisputed ruler of Egypt. As queen, Cleopatra made several reforms aimed at modernizing Egypt. She improved bilateral trade, created strategic alliances with powerful leaders, and brought prosperity to a kingdom recovering from a civil war. She showed a particular commitment to knowledge, and the library at Alexandria is one of her notable projects, like a monument built to preserve knowledge. But her life became even more interesting after she wrestled authority. It was her actions after the death of Julius Caesar that elevated her to infamy. What happened, and why did she become so popular? I will tell you. The legend of Antony and Cleopatra. After Caesar's passing, Cleopatra's future was uncertain. Marcus Antonius, more commonly known by his anglicized name, Mark Antony, became the heir apparent to Caesar's throne and controlled the eastern territories in Rome. He summoned Cleopatra to explain her role in the assassination of Julius Caesar. Cleopatra had not lost any of her female wiles. It had served her well in the past, and she knew it would come in handy at this time. So she set out to meet Mark Antony in Tarsus, laden with gifts, but more importantly, she delayed her journey to maximize expectation. Cleopatra's beauty and guile so captivated Antony that he completely forgot his wife Fulvia and fell head over heels in love with Caesar's lover. A combination of his abandonment and other issues led to Fulvia's death. In Rome, Mark Antony's claim over the throne faced a significant threat from Julius Caesar's nephew Octavian. Most frowned upon his relationship with Cleopatra, but he didn't care. Cleopatra gave birth to twins for Antony, and they named the kids Alexander and Helios. To quench the trouble with Octavian, Antony was forced to marry his sister and separate from Cleopatra. The marriage lasted only 3 years. Antony, seeing that the peace he sought to achieve with the marriage wasn't going to materialize, headed back to Egypt to reunite with Alexandria. Their union will lead to further rift back home and further propaganda war. After the failed Battle of Actium, in which Antony and Cleopatra faced the armies of Octavian, Antony was told that Cleopatra had been killed, and in response, he fell on his sword and died. And as his last request, he asked to be carried to the place where his Cleopatra has been laid. When Cleopatra saw this, she killed herself and sought to be laid to rest beside her lover, Antony. Paintings, plays, and songs have been composed to immortalize the love shared by these two, and the world continues to hold up their love as a standard, one to rival the love affair between Romeo and Juliet. It is the manner of their death, the mystery of their burial, and the vast wealth that was at their disposal which has forced several archaeological quests to find their final resting place. But there may be a twist to this heart-wrenching tale of love and death. Many historical accounts suggest that Octavian, desiring to carry out vengeance upon Antony for his treatment of his sister Octavia and Cleopatra for his part in the unsavory affair, murdered Cleopatra and Antony, thus solidifying his hold on the Roman and Egyptian empires. None of these historical accounts can be proven, especially since the bodies of the characters involved had been buried secretly and remain undiscovered till now. Archaeologists believe discovering their bodies will yield more answers and reveal hidden truths about their final moments. How much hidden truth can centuries-old bodies reveal? You will be surprised at how much we can learn, especially as the historian Plutarch believes their bodies were mummified, as was the custom in Egypt at the time. Where is the much-vaunted grave? The endless quest to discover Cleopatra's final resting place and learn the hidden truths the body and the grave hold have bedeviled researchers and archaeologists for eons. Now, with the advent of technological innovations, geophysical studies combined with careful excavation efforts have brought us closer to a breakthrough. This search has been carried out in several areas around Egypt. Still, recently, there has been a particular focus on the Taposiris Magna, particularly the temple. The search around the temple continues to yield clues that could lead to the discovery of the long-lost grave of the infamous queen. Ground-penetrating radar and other archaeological tools have revealed interesting finds around the Taposiris Magna area. Now, with the combination of modern technology and traditional methods of excavations, a powerful discovery has been made, which has the archaeologists convinced that Antony and Cleopatra were laid to rest in the same grave. This important discovery is the two bodies found within a tomb around the area in the Taposiris Magna. These bodies weren't easy to identify, and again, archaeologists were forced to employ modern technology to determine what they had found. Employing the use of X-ray technology, researchers learned that the bodies are that of a man and a woman buried side by side. But these aren't the bodies of the lovers. This discovery further intrigued the researchers who delved deeper to unearth the identities of these bodies. On one of the mummies, the archaeologists discovered a scarab image painted with gold leaf, symbolizing rebirth in ancient Egyptian culture. This idea of rebirth holds great significance for Cleopatra. It is why archaeologists believe they are close to a breakthrough. To understand the importance of the search at the Taposiris Magna Temple, one must understand the significance of the temple and the gods to Egyptian monarchs. In Egyptian culture, the monarch, usually a pharaoh, is said to be the incarnation of the sky god Horus, the only child of Osiris and Isis, regarded as the two central deities in the Egyptian pantheon. Horus is said to have avenged the death of his father, Osiris, to become king of Egypt. In the literal sense, the pharaoh wasn't a reincarnation of the god Horus, but a renewal of Ma'at, which for the Egyptians meant the renewal of good, justice, and more. While the pharaoh, often male, is viewed as the reincarnation of Horus, the female ruler of Egypt is often believed to be the reincarnation of Isis, and Cleopatra portrayed herself in the light of Isis's rebirth. The Taposiris Magna was built in the 3rd century BC, and the centerpiece and cynosure of all eyes is the Taposiris Magna Temple, which was dedicated to the central god in the Egyptian pantheon, Osiris, who was believed to be the god of death and the afterlife. Now, the temple dedicated to the central god, which symbolizes monarchical power, is not only home to Osiris, but his wife Isis as well. Therefore, discovering the bodies of a male and female mummy within the tunnel underneath the temple points to the possibility that the powerful Antony and Cleopatra may well be close by. One of the primary archaeologists on this quest, Dr. Kathleen Martinez, shared this sense of impending discovery. For over 14 years, the Dominican lawyer, diplomat, and archaeologist has dedicated her life to the search, and all evidence has brought her to the Taposiris Magna. One remarkable piece of evidence was the discovery of a collection of coins with the image of Cleopatra on them. Within the same area, Dr. Martinez and her team also unearthed carvings that depicted Cleopatra and her beloved lover, Anthony, clasping themselves in a loving embrace. Do you see how the picture tilts towards a groundbreaking discovery? Often such carvings are only found near the final resting places. But these were not the only discoveries the esteemed archaeologist and her team made. She also found 10 mummies in one of the burial chambers hidden under the earth at the Taposiris Magna in tombs belonging to Egyptian nobles dating back centuries. Due to the length of years and the havoc time wreaks on dead bodies, Dr. Martinez and her team have been unable to discover the identities of these bodies beyond placing them within a given period and the fact that they are nobility. Besides these meager finds and what they suggest, Dr. Martinez and her team have made a groundbreaking discovery that could restate all our questions and open our eyes to the best hidden secrets of the Ptolemaic era. In 2022, while continuing her search around the Taposiris Magna, she discovered a 4,300-foot-long tunnel that could be a game changer. What does this discovery mean, and what has the tunnel yielded so far? Many continue to doubt the possibility of the tunnel leading to the tombs of Cleopatra and Anthony. Coins and mummies had already been discovered in the area. Still, when Dr. Martinez found tablets bearing the temple's name within the tunnel, doubters began to believe that the tomb's discovery was close at hand. It was Plutarch, the historian, who first mentioned the fact that these lovers were buried together. Still, there was no mention of the exact spot where they were laid, and the connection between the gods Osiris and Isis and the significance of the deities to Egyptian monarchs suggests there could be a link and makes it plausible that Dr. Martinez and her team are on the right track. Within the tunnel, the research team found the headless statue of Ptolemy IV, one of Cleopatra's progenitors. This discovery, hidden over several centuries, offers some answers into Egypt's history and is solid evidence that this research team may be on the right track. One particularly strong evidence that they are on the right track is the recent discovery of a sacred lake. Priests often made sacrifices to the gods around this sacred lake, and archaeologists have discovered over 200 coins bearing the face of Cleopatra. It is believed that these coins were used as offerings to the gods. But why does Dr. Martinez believe the bodies would be found in or around the temple? According to legend, it is believed that Cleopatra entrusted her body to the priest before her death, and that being the case, it is plausible that they would lay her to rest in the most sacred place in all, Egypt, which is the home of the god Osiris' husband to Isis, who Cleopatra is believed to be a reincarnation of. So far, the 4,300 tunnel continues to give up all of its secrets, and with each secret it coughs up, the researchers get a little closer to discovering their target. Dr. Martinez is unwavering in her belief that Cleopatra and her beloved lover, or at least one of them, should be laid to rest here, within the temple or in the surrounding area, and soon enough, she will have what she seeks. Do you believe that the bodies of this great but troubled ruler would be found within the temple of Osiris? Or do you think she was buried somewhere, out of the reach of the archaeologists? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section.